Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Leanne Lucas, and I have a special guest today, Mr. Brandon Smith, who is a employee of Facebook and a very, very good friend of mine. And asked him to come to class to speak about what he does at Facebook and a little bit about Facebook, and which connects to what our major project is for this class. And so we're going to have a little conversation here. And so for you all to sit in and listen in. All right. Well, welcome, Brandon.
Thank you, Leanne. Good to see you as always.
Nice to see you
Last
too.
good to virtually see y'all.
I know. It's great, right?
Good, it's very good.
So tell us how you got to Facebook.
This is a great question. People ask me this all the time. So I've been at Facebook since August 2016. I've been in corporate America almost 10 years now, worked for 3 different companies, 2 before I came to Facebook. And my journey to Facebook was a bit unique, I would say. A lot of people end up coming in with tech experience, but I happen to be one of the few that was blessed to not need tech experience to get here. So just
Okay.
before I got to Facebook, I was in my second job at a healthcare company doing retail sales. And specifically, I was doing consumer insights. And so what we would do in this particular role is we would do what we would call focus groups, where you would talk to consumers about their shopping experience in grocery stores like Walmart, Target, Kroger, and even online like Amazon. And we would collect all these insights from these focus groups. And
Mm-hmm.
then we would take them to what's called our category management teams, who are employees of our company, but sit in the local offices of the major companies like Walmart, Target, Kroger. So they are an extension of our sales team. So we would say, hey, here's what's going on in performance nutrition, because that's the department that I work with. So here's what's going on in the category. Here's what you need to tell the buyer at Walmart about what's going on and what we can suggest to them for our products that we sell. Then I would take these same insights, take them back to our brand team and say, hey, here's what's going on across all the retailers in the industry. Um, let's say energy gels are very hot in performance nutrition at the time. And so we need to be thinking about making a energy gel to compete with the other big brands like Premier Protein, Optimum Nutrition, things of that nature.
Okay.
So to answer your question, how did I get to Facebook? It was really a transfer of skills. So I'd done that role for about a year and a half. And there was an account management role that opened up in Texas, where we live now, my wife and I. And I ended up just taking all of my skills from that experience and applying to a role that was very transferable. And it's history from there. So
Very
that's the
cool.
really transferable skills.
Yeah, I think that's a very important piece to talk about, kind of transferable skills, because a lot of times when we graduate from college or we graduate from our skills program, that we don't realize how much skill set we have.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we just focus on what the major was and what we learned, but
Yeah.
kind of expanding it to other aspects of what possible jobs we can do. And a lot of people think only if you work at Facebook, you have some kind of digital background or computer tech background, and that's not always the case.
Not at all. I happened by chance to have a little bit of experience with creating ads. Like I spent like $2 making an ad before I got to Facebook, but I had done that like 4 years before I had applied. So like that is a complete misnomer that you have to have ad experience to work in advertising. In many cases, um, this is one where like you just have to have grit and some sort of transferable skills. If you can narrate directionally what you understand from your current experience, you can definitely jump over. So I knew little to nothing about Facebook from an ads perspective before I came to this to my first role. I learned everything on the go. So got to
So
believe in yourself. That's for sure.
exactly, with COVID-19, how has your workplace changed?
Oh my gosh, Leanne, everything has changed. So well, we have 3 offices in Austin, and it's over 20 plus departments, and everybody works from home now. I think we've had our offices shut since March. I remember that was the last day that I went to the office, and they haven't opened them up since. You can come in and get things from the office, but everybody's figuring out how to work from home. And so one of the things that um, the leadership team at Facebook did is everybody got at least $1,000 to help build their home office. We didn't have to keep track of how you spent the money. It was just like an in-kind gift. That's tax, of course, but everybody had to figure out their setup, right? So some people need dual screens. Like if you're an engineer, you might need dual screens to work. You might need Portal. So we own Portal as well. So that was just like a video conferencing hardware. So everybody got portals if you want to use them. So we just had to figure out a different way to communicate and how to operate as well. So you see a lot of folks, especially if you're a parent, like I have 2 direct reports on my team who are parents. One of them has a 2 and a 4-year-old, and then another one has a newborn. And so another thing that's changed about work is like, we have to be you get to see what people are juggling in their real lives and in their work lives, like all at the same time. So if you're a parent, going back to what I was about to say, you have to be, in some cases, a teacher, a parent, a disciplinarian, maybe even a spouse and an employee all within 8 hours. So we end up as a leadership team, like if you are a manager, you have to be very, very patient with your people in terms of like how they're juggling a lot of different things. I would even say you have to give yourself grace and not expect to maybe even perform at the same level that you were when you were in the office. I'll use myself as an example. Like I would have a very high gear. Like I say I'm at like a 10 out of 10 when I'm at work, but it's honestly taken me months to get back to that gear. I think it's up until maybe the last month and a half where I feel like I have that flow that I had when I was in the office, but it literally took me 4 to 5 months to find that gear and that inspiration again. So I think in all, like we've had to change functionally how we work and then how we communicate with each other as well, and just give everybody grace as they figure out this new normal that we're in of COVID.
I think that's a very important and key point in terms of that pivot. You know, we're all pivoting in terms of kind of where we are. How is working for Facebook in terms of a culture?
Oh, it's amazing. It's the best job I've ever had, no question. But I'll give you more of the why. So I worked, before I mentioned, I worked at a healthcare company before Facebook. And before that, I worked at a greeting card company. And both of these companies are market leaders. They've been around since early 1900s. And when you get to that place in a particular industry, you can often be very complacent. You can also be afraid of innovation as well. Let's zoom into healthcare. Like you're not going to find like pomegranate spiced Similac, right? Like it's just not going to happen because like there are children's lives on the line, right? And so I learned that I had to place myself at a company that believed in the things that I believed in and had the same wavelength to operate the same way. And one of those, one part of my creed in terms of my career philosophy is I wanted to go to a place that loved people and they demonstrated it through action. And Facebook does that. Like it's built into the fabric of what the company is. It helps that like we are a platform that where our mission is to give people the power to build community, but we do it in-house as well with the employees. So I'll give you a few tangible examples of how this manifests in real life. So the biggest one is we have these things called ERGs, or employee resource groups. So it is where you can find people who are like you or have similar interests to you. So some of the major ERGs are Black at, so that is people who have an affinity to the African-American experience. You have Women at, so people who are women or associate to women. You have Latin at, you have Veterans at, you have Pride at. So all these major points of identity usually have some sort of correlated ERG or employee resource group. The other cool thing within that is many ERGs have like subgroups under them. So within within Black at, there's Black men at, there's Black women at, there's Afro Black at, there's a lot of different, or Black Pride at, there's a lot of different subsidiaries, if you will, because people are intersectional, right? So like imagine if you are a Black gay woman, there's like at least 4 groups based on what I just said that you can be a part of. Well, I'm sorry, or at least 3. So it's awesome that we have these dedicated spaces where we can commune and the company reinforces what we believe in. So like every single group has an executive sponsor. The sponsor for Black at is the chief revenue officer for the company. And so you have these senior leaders who like, you know, we share trends, we share themes. They advocate for us to get budget for events. And so everything is just reinforced from a top-down leadership perspective. And the reason why I started the story talking about my other two companies is that it was a complete opposite from those other places. Like we would have to fight to wear jeans on Friday, let alone fight to see upward matriculation of Black people, right? It was a harder conversation. And so I needed to jump to a place that I could see that diversity and inclusion specifically, because diversity is, being invited to the dance. Inclusion is being asked to dance, right? So this is
Correct.
Inclusion is very much at the fabric of what Facebook believes in from a product perspective and an employee perspective. And that's ERGs is one of many ways that we do that.
That's fantastic. That gives us a kind of an insight in terms of kind of the inner workings.